Hey everybody, and welcome to Mediocre Gamers, where we discuss all things gaming. I'm Caleb, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Crimson.
I'm Crimson.
Alright, now we got some stuff to talk with you guys about. We've played some new stuff, played some old stuff, but first, Crimson wanted to talk to us about something interesting going on with the world of Wizards of the Coast and Magic.
Now, I want to just give a quick PSA. You may be triggered. We're going to be talking about left versus right, not politics, but the world of Magic the Gathering. And it's really terrible out there. Right now, Wizards has been on an active campaign to make their R&D, their departments more diverse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hiring more people with a diverse background. And on their cards, you're seeing it too. You're seeing no more his, hers, him, her. You're seeing theirs, yours, you know. And it's just easier on the cards.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking with like removing his or hers with their.
Yeah.
It uses less ink. It makes the actual sentence more concise, and it makes the amount of text that's in the box that you have to read a lot less. I think that just seems smart, whether it is for one reason or another.
Yep. Now here's the problem. You have a medium to small fringe group who I will call the right wing, who are sitting there
The right wing of Bolus.
and whining, yes, and whining because they believe Wizards has become a social justice, company, and all they care about is diversity and not marketing to their current clients. And let's be honest, the majority of Magic players are heterosexual white males. I understand that. But that doesn't mean that you can't try to get more diversity into the playgroups. It would be nice to play Magic and have, somebody of a female represented there. But they need to feel safe to do that.
Yeah.
Now, we played Magic, in the early 2000s, and we had a couple females in our group.
And they were harassed and bullied almost every single time.
Every single day.
Yep.
Not when they were playing with us, but when they were playing in the competitive environment with the pro players.
Yep. I remember, and this guy, he played a little bit of Magic, but he played Dragon Ball Z, the card game, with us. And the only reason why this is relevant is because the same girl that was harassed by him was also harassed by other Magic players. And that was, I remember that she was needing to borrow a card for her Dragon Ball Z deck, and this one guy had a copy of it that was not in his deck, and he said, yeah, I'll let you borrow it. And he goes, but I want a blowjob.
What the fuck?
She was 16, he was 34.
Yeah.
The fact that the card shop did not ban him from the store, the tournament organizer did not ban him from anything or report him to the store, and we were all kids. We're all 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, so we didn't really know what the fuck was going on. You weren't even there that day.
Good.
But,
because I would have punched him in the face.
Yeah, I ended up actually punching him in the... Actually, I punched him right in the sternum. I knocked him all the way back out of his chair into the next table while we were sitting and playing our first round.
So I'm assuming he said this to Alex.
Yep.
That would be why you punched him.
Well, he kept making comments too.
Yeah.
That's why I punched him twice.
But why?
And I don't condone violence, but also I kind of do. So
you should stick up for somebody who doesn't feel safe or feel the ability to defend themselves. Bullies are piece of shits, and they will continue to be piece of shits until somebody sticks up and gets in their face.
Yep, and you already know who it was that said it. It was Russell.
Yeah.
The biggest douchebag that we ever had to deal with, really. But enough, but crapping on crapheads. But
So,
I get one of the issues that people are seeing. The problem is those people are stupid.
yeah,
The
exactly.
idea of diversifying your department, your R&D department or anything like that, it can only help, because when you sit there and you have new ideas that are coming in from people of other cultures, people of other genders, people of other races, anything like that,
religious
you are going,
beliefs, all of that.
yes, you are going to get different ideas. If
Because
you just have, and I don't want to paint this picture in a bad way, but if you have a whole bunch of, Cheeto eating fucking white nerds in a room that are all creating these cards, what are they going to be? They're going to have, and this is an actual thing because you actually just told me this before we started recording, and that was, you will have a fire elemental that is naked with fire shooting out of her crotch.
yes,
That is a fucking magic card.
and you know what? It's not acceptable in this day and age. We've
But it's
progressed
also not, yes,
as a society.
but it's not necessarily a problem, other than it just seems overdone. But
It's
the
not a
fact that a
problem
fire
to you
elemental,
and me. But if you
in
were
the
a
theory,
female
yes.
and you sat down and you saw this card, what would you think?
Here's the difference, though, and this is where the delicate hand comes in. Is the art done properly? Is it made to sexualize the character depicted? Because a fire elemental would not wear clothes.
Yes. Personally, me, I do think the card is a little overly sexualized.
That's the problem.
Personally, to me. But to you, it may not be. So the solution is
Yes.
just don't make that art. Make something else. You don't have to have a fire elemental that looks like a human. Fire
That is also true.
is a completely, unformed form.
Yeah. It can take the form of whatever it wants, basically.
Exactly.
And so they decided to create an overly sexualized version of a fire elemental, which, again, that sounds like a bunch of nerdy dudes sitting in a basement. But
yeah, I mean, that sounds
I get
like 1990s.
yes, it does. I mean, look at heavy metal.
Yeah, but we have changed as a society.
Yes.
Now,
And to try and include more people in your groups and diversify who your target audience is, like, because you were saying, why don't you focus on the 92% or whatever of your audience is, in theory, this is not exact numbers, guys, just
right.
simmer down. But let's say 92% of your demographic, which is white heterosexual males. Okay, so why are you not catering to that? Well, because I want a bigger range. I want a bigger audience.
Exactly.
They are a company, which means their only goal is to make money and continue making money.
And bring in new players.
And bring in new players, because when they bring in new players, they make more money.
And when
so
you have
the more people they can include, the healthier the game is, the healthier the environment is, and the healthier their wallet is.
Exactly. And it's not like they haven't done
nothing to hurt the players.
Yeah, it's not like they haven't done this before in the past either. In the 90s, we had a series of art changes and with religious intent. So they went back and they changed some art for certain items that had pentagrams on it. When they reprinted certain cards that were, demonic, they did not have the Christianity version of demonic demons on their cards anymore. And this was to protect themselves from religious, I don't know,
backlash and lawsuits and stuff like that.
So it's not that it's a social justice thing. It's just
it's a cultural thing, and it's saving their own asses.
So now when you make a card, you're thinking about the Christian aspect. Would this offend Christians? Can we print this card? But if you don't have, say, a Jewish person or a Muslim person working in your department to also check, then you could put out something that may be very, very offensive to another group of people.
And I'm going to actually jump in right here because I have a perfect example of this. Okay, so first off, we actually had, I remember when there was an art change when I was a kid and first started playing Magic, and that was Unholy Strength. I had two white bordered ones.
Everybody wanted the old ones.
Yep, everybody wanted the old ones. The old ones had a flaming pentagram in the background. The newer ones, after, I want to say it was Revised or Unlimited, whichever one was the next one. Or maybe it was 4th edition.
4th edition.
4th edition, yeah. 4th edition did not, it was the exact same picture without the pentagram.
And people hated it because it was a very shitty art. Now,
it was.
Later versions look awesome. They have like this human guy who's just like massive muscles and like, pustules on him. I mean, they did good art later for it.
Yeah. Now, for like what you were saying, if you don't have a diverse group, certain things can fall through the cracks when you are trying to make quality checks, right? So one of the best examples of this was actually Budweiser. And I think it was last year this happened, where somehow this went through, I think, 8 different checks. Like it went through 8 people to sign off on it, and 8 people signed off on it. And their slogan on their beer was the perfect tool for removing no from your vocabulary.
Holy shit.
That was on the fucking bottle label.
Wow.
They got so much backlash for it, and rightly so. Like, whether it was meant that way or not, our culture says that it means it this way because this is what our culture is going through right now. Whatever your culture is going through, whatever struggles, whatever good times, anything like that, is going to need to be reflected by the consumer market. It's kind of a supply and demand thing, but in moral text. You don't put something that sounds like that on something that takes away your ability to actually say no.
Yes, that's pretty bad.
So if, in Magic terms, it would be like, for instance, if you do not have a Jewish person there or anybody that in that diverse group, you might put something like a fucking swastika on one of your... Not even thinking about it. You're thinking, hey, this guy is supposed to be the worst thing ever, right? Well, let's just put a fucking swastika on him because Nazis are bad, right? Even stupid white guys, some, not all, will agree that they're bad people. They always have been. Lowest of the low. But if you have a whole bunch of fucking white dudes in a room who have no diversity in religion or, common sense, they may do something like that. And then it goes through those quality checks of going, oh, I don't see it as offensive because it's not offensive to me. Well, I don't see it as offensive because it's not offensive to me. Yep, right. Stamp of approval, stamp of approval, stamp of approval. It gets printed, it goes out. There's tons of backlash because their playgroups, their customers are a diverse group of people, whether people want to admit that or not.
And the thing is, Wizards is trying to build the brand right now, so you have to look at that kind of stuff. These right-wingers, they're like, oh, you're just a social justice warrior. You just want to cater to the diversity. You know what? Fuck you.
You're not wrong.
Does it fucking hurt them? No. Sit the fuck back, scratch your ass, and fucking play the game. And if you don't want to, go play something else. Well,
and I want to point something out, because what you were talking about, which was like the art changes and stuff like that. Okay, I want to use Dominaria, the new set coming out, as an example. Have you seen one card in this set that is not fucking beautiful? Just art-wise.
It's amazing. And guess what? I look at the Captain of the Weatherlight. What's her name? Gerara? I'm terrible with names if you guys don't know. The Artificer chick. Blue.
Yeah, Joyride.
Joyride. Her boobs aren't hanging out. It's fucking nice. She looks respectful. She looks nice. The card art is great. I don't need to see her tits.
Yes, and see, I want to point something out right here and right now with that exact example. And that is, I get it, the 90s, way early 2000s, that kind of stuff passed because that's just kind of what was happening. That's kind of...
Because the majority of your gamers were 13-year-old little pricks.
Exactly. And now, however, when I saw Joyra, do you know what I said? My first thought that popped in my head?
What's that?
1, oh yeah, I remember Joyra. 2, oh my god, that art is gorgeous. And 3, holy crap, she is incredible. Do you know what something was that did not pop into my head? I can't see her tits.
Oh, I guess I'll just have to go to Pornhub.com. P.S. We are not sponsored by Pornhub.com.
No, but with the way that they sponsor and do things, there's a chance that one day...
Who knows?
They're like, hey, a gaming podcast.
If you want to whack one off, head over to Pornhub. Jesus Christ.
Anyway, back on topic. But the idea that... Okay, if that is the first thing that pops into your head when you see Joyra or you see, Sisei's daughter, I cannot remember her name. I can't remember a lot of the new people's names.
If that's the first thing that pops into your head, either you are 13 or you need to go get some.
Yeah. Well, not even that. If that is the first thing that pops into your head when you see a character on a playing card, you have bigger issues that you need to deal with. I'm thinking less that... Yes, I'm thinking less you need to get some action or your hormones are out of whack and more therapy.
No.
Because you are now associating every female as a sexual object. But anyways, I don't want to dive down that rabbit hole.
Now, I do want to talk about one thing that also involves this diversity too. And with Magic getting more diversity. Mm-hmm. And that is, there is one thing that the right has pointed out that I think is very important. And that is the fact that Wizards does not do enough screening for their judge program. Now, granted, I understand it does cost a lot to screen, and they do expect the stores to do some basic research themselves on people. But we have found about 3 or 4 instances of people who are on the sexual predators list who are also judges for Magic the Gathering. And when it's brought up, Wizards does remove them and then totally just destroys their DCI number and bans them from all sanctioned tournaments. Yeah. But it's not... Wizards can't police every judge for, like, your local tournament. You know, it is up to the card shops to do that a little bit. But and it's up to the player base.
Point out, yes, it is up to the player base, but there is something that I should point out for this, and that is to become a actual licensed judge, you do have to go through Wizards of the Coast. You have to actually take tests to become a actual licensed judge for big events. Yes. Why is that not, like, why are card shops just grabbing any fuckstick off the street and going, hey, you want to judge Magic tournaments? Instead of going, hey, if you want to judge Magic tournaments, you need to go take the test so that you can actually be a certified judge. When they do those tests and become certified, they should be doing background checks.
And they do. The problem that we see is that
the local stores aren't doing that.
No, the predators don't get caught first. So they may go through the judge program, everything's fine. 3 years later, they get arrested, they get put on the sexual predators list, but no one's going back through the list of every judge and redoing background checks every year because that would cost millions of dollars. So
let's see. That seems like that is a local card shop.
Exactly.
Because the card shop should go, hey, I wonder how come our judge hasn't shown up in 6 months.
Exactly.
Oh, he came back? Hey, how come you haven't been here in 6 months? I got arrested. Okay, I'm going to do a quick background check on you real fast.
No shit.
Not, you've been in prison for 6 months. That's all right. You want to go judge some Magic?
The reason why I bring this up is I want to say this to our audience. Mm-hmm. If you are an adult with a child who does play Magic, do not drop them off at the card shop. It is not your fucking babysitter. Stay there.
That is also true.
Play with them. Watch them. If you see something that you don't feel is correct, you need to bring it to the owner of the card shop. If nothing happens after that, then you need to go beyond. You need to protect your children. But this also implies to the other players like you and me who have
Yes.
a decent moral core.
Yeah.
If we see something that seems inappropriate, we should not stay silent about it. Be
Correct.
vocal.
And see, that also comes down to, and I don't want to say I'm blaming the parents, but this is just also a poor parenting tactic. You are dropping off your kid in a game store, there's strangers all over the place, whatever. But more importantly, if you are dropping your kid off to play in a tournament, you should be meeting the judge.
Right.
Face to face, introduce yourself, get their name,
Because
even
they have to
exchange
provide
phone numbers, whatever you need to do to make sure that they have, or that you have a way to contact them if there is a problem.
Yep.
And this is where the random fucker off the street as a judge does not work, because a judge for events needs to have responsibility.
Correct. And this also comes down to the diversity. Look, I'm not trying to stereotype, but I would guess a good portion of the people on the sexual predators list are probably white males.
I'm gonna say more than that.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I'm going to go out on a limb and guess.
You're being generous with it. Yeah.
At that same point, the more diversity we have in the judge program,
Yes.
I believe the safer the program will be too. And I believe that's what Wizards feels too.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm never going to shield for Wizard or Blizzard,
Yep.
but I'm also not going to shit on them for trying to do the right thing.
Yeah,
I think in general they're a good company.
Yeah, just because the whiny asshole player base, and only part of it, again, only part of it, is complaining about them, they're complaining about Wizards trying to be on not only the right side of history, but also to, again, their only goal is to make money and keep people playing the game to make more money. So when they make the game more inclusive, when they make their department more diverse, when they make the playgroups more diverse, when they can pull in more females, if they can bring in more people who are LGBTQ because they don't gear things towards a certain demographic, when they use proper pronouns, when they use stuff like that, neutral language. It's not them being social justice warriors and censoring themselves. It's them being inclusive so that, guess what? They can make more money. It doesn't always have to be a social justice warrior thing. It can just be a smart business move to make your product more appealing to a more diverse group of people, because the more people who can play your game and feel comfortable with it, the more money you make.
Exactly. Now,
it doesn't always have to be that, but if somebody goes, oh, they're not using his hand anymore, they go, oh, social justice warrior. And they're going, no, we have females that play this game. That's why it's his or her for the longest time. And now it's them or their. And they're like, social justice warrior. It's like, no, it's less text.
Yep. Now, I do want to say something to our younger audience who may be listening.
Mm-hmm.
If you are in a play group and there is a cute girl who you are interested in, there are ways to go about it without being creepy as fuck. So, let me help you out here. First off, realize that person is an actual fucking human being. And they're going to have their own problems. They're going to have their own life. They are not put on this earth to play magic with you and for you to look at their tits. But, say you do really like this person. It's pretty easy. I'll tell you the secret to having a good relationship with this person. Don't be a fucking ass clown. Be nice, be respectful, listen to what they have to say, and don't treat them differently because they have a set of boobs. It's that simple. Just
as cringy as I thought that was going to be, it actually was quite fine.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it. I've been in card shops all my life, and I have seen it. a pretty girl walks in, and every fucking dude in there is like, oh my god, it's a girl. You know what? Don't. Just, hey, if you're interested, make it known that you're interested. Talk to them like a normal person.
Talk to them first.
Yes, ask them to come play with you. Be nice. Be a normal person. If they're not interested in you, they will let you know. And when they do, move the fuck on.
Yep. But also, and this is a blanket statement for the younger people who may be listening to us. First off, why the fuck are you listening to us? We are not a child-friendly podcast. But secondly, if you are ever in a situation where you are at a card shop and you do not feel safe, you do not feel comfortable, if you are at a tournament and the judge is being weird, if there's anything like, tell the people who work at the card shop.
Yes.
Tell your parents.
Yes, immediately. Don't hold that shit in. No one's going to be mad at you.
If they are, send them to us.
Hell yeah, I'll set them straight for you.
But anyway...
Crimson don't hold back.
That's true.
So, what have we been playing? Well, I've been playing some Magic. I've been playing quite a bit of Magic. A lot of Magic Arena. Watching a lot of Magic streams. And I highly suggest anybody out there, there is a pre-release tournament that was streamed by those LLR guys. Just search YouTube for pre-release and you'll find it. It's about 8 hours long, but it does little deck building videos in there, shows you everybody's deck. You get to watch a pre-release be pretty much played out. It's like 8 rounds. It's pretty long, but it's incredibly informative and very, very fun to watch. And these guys are pretty damn awesome.
Yeah, it's the Loading Ready Run guys, which are from Canada. They are hilarious. I've been watching videos that they have actually done for Magic the Gathering, the actual like official YouTube channel, and they're hilarious. They're fantastic. 2 of them, Graham and Kathleen, were also on not the most recent episode of Game Nights, but the one right before that, where it was a complete nostalgia episode. So great guys. I love Loading Ready.
To tie it into our previous talk, Catherine. Wow, I love Kathleen. She is amazing.
Oh, but she really is.
I mean,
she's hilarious.
And see, that's the thing, is like, we need more people like Kathleen. And they're amazing players. They think outside of the box. She plays very well. I mean, she's just a great player. I want to play with more people like her, with, the guys from the Command Zone. They're very diverse to begin with. We need this in our play groups.
Yep. And it really is. Like, I don't know. We were playing, and because to go ahead and jump in on this topic, we've been playing Magic here too. Me, Austin, Dakota, Andy, and even Will Lentz from the White Book. We've all been playing some Commander and just kind of screwing around and having fun. And I've noticed that when I go to metagames, I've been going to metagames on Fridays or Saturdays. I'm noticing, and this is going to sound bad, but I want it to be put into this context. And I don't care if it sounds bad, because anybody who knows me knows that this isn't why. But I look around the room, because I'm also trying to take account of how many players are there to play Magic. Because we've talked about this before of, Wizards is not giving out the promos or anything like that for F&M, so numbers are down for tournaments because there's no real prizes. It's just store credit. or stuff like that. And I've been noticing how diversity is at metagames. And it's not metagames' fault. It's not anybody's fault in that. It's just that's the card shop that we go to. And even going to Collectomaniacs, which I love Collectomaniacs. And metagames has been, it's been my stomping ground for fucking years. Over a decade I've been going over to metagames. But I've been noticing
almost 2.
There's not. Yeah, almost 2. Holy shit.
Fuck, you're old.
Yeah. God damn it. Speaking of, I just had a birthday recently, so yeah, I am old. Thanks.
Still not older than me.
No, that's true. But I've been noticing more and more that there are more females who come to metagames, but they're generally not there to play Magic. They're usually there with their friends, brother, boyfriend, whatever, girlfriend, something like that, to play board games with their other friends. They are having their own play group for specific games, and they're coming to metagames to meet up at a central location and have enough play space to play those games. Not a lot of them. Go ahead.
I've been seeing a lot of this at like Sparta. Now,
yeah.
I do play L5R, and we do have a couple female players, but they were introduced to the game by their boyfriend or family member. But, L5R is a little bit different with the clientele. The people who play it are generally older. But when I'm there and I'm watching the D&D groups, the D&D groups are very diverse.
Yeah.
And it's all about, and it's not like, you're listening to this D&D group and they're not talking about tits. No, they are.
They are. It's just they're all in on it.
Yeah, exactly. The person feels comfortable in that group with those people. And that's the problem. You can't just assume people automatically feel comfortable around you. That's something you earn.
And that's why those play groups work, is because they are committing to a campaign. That means that they know each other, that they are comfortable with each other, and that obviously there are going to be exceptions, but in the general rule, you are not going to sit down and be playing D&D every week or every month with a group of people that you do not feel comfortable with.
Correct. Exactly.
You are doing that with friends, usually close friends, co-workers, something like that, people you know and trust. Yeah. So with Magic, you are literally playing against strangers every single time. So it breaks that streak of trust and comfort, because you are dealing with strangers who don't know you and can be total creeps. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So that can cause a big problem. But I have been noticing that there are more D&D groups popping up in these card shops. And that, again, they are more diverse groups.
D&D used to be something you'd play at your kitchen room table. Now it's moving into these card shops, these almost coffee shop card shops. And
yeah.
I think it's great.
It is. It's super cool.
Yeah.
But when it comes to card games, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, even Thrones. Now, Thrones does have a more diverse, because it has the L5R thing. It's that less people play them, and generally it is an older group of people. Now, that's not saying it's all, senior citizens, but, it's mid-20s and up.
Maybe.
Generally. But also maybe senior citizens. But, it has a... And I don't want to say this because it's a numbers game. I feel like the Thrones community, it has a more mature community, but it also has a very small community compared to something like Magic, Pokemon, stuff like that, because Magic is the most played card game in the entire world.
It is.
So it has the biggest numbers. So obviously it is going to draw everyone in, including all the assholes.
It is. But
I have been noticing that there are less females playing Magic. There are less people of color playing Magic. It feels like I go there and there are lots and lots of white people. And that's not That's not a problem because this is a primarily white area and it sucks. I hate this place, but I digress. And it's not the card shop's problem. It's not really the area's. That's the area that we're in. But when you see so few diverse people there, you realize the culture in that card shop.
Yes. And when you do see somebody who's different than you, take the time, befriend them, be nice to them, get them to come back, because that's going to improve your play experience.
Yeah, and it's not saying that, go, and it's not saying, hey, if you see a black person at the card shop, go befriend them because, they're black. Right. It's that if you see somebody who is a person of color, who is a female, something like that, if they walk into a place like that, and this is probably going to sound terrible, but a person coming into a place like that where it's a sea of mayonnaise.
That does sound terrible.
But you really, you walk in and it's a whole bunch of white dudes. It can be intimidating for anyone, whether they are female, whether they are a person of color, because I get intimidated walking into metagames on a big tournament day. Yeah. And that's just because I have crippling social anxiety. I actually have an anxiety disorder. But when you can also have anxiety for those other reasons too, of, am I going to get bullied today? Yeah. Or am I going to hear, because we're also in the South or Midwest, but it's the fucking South, it really is. Am I going to hear, racial slurs? Am I going to hear homosexual, transphobia, anything like that slurs?
The most important question, am I safe?
Exactly. And that's the thing, is if those, and I don't want to say those people, if people can feel safe regardless of the color of their skin, regardless of their religion, regardless of their gender identity, or sexual preference, if they can go to a place and people are friendly, but give them their space, just basically be a human being.
Oh, that's really hard for some people.
Yes, but I know. But just treat them like a normal person, because they are a normal person.
Now,
that's all you have to do, is they are a normal person, so treat them like one.
Amen.
And then they will feel more comfortable. You will feel more comfortable. Everybody gets to have fun and play games.
And that's the whole point.
Stop excluding people. That's it. Stop excluding people. We went on a tangent there.
Oh, yeah. I told you this was going to be a long episode.
Crap. What did you drag me into, Murphy?
Now, to segue that into the Magic part, we have pre-release this coming up weekend.
Yes, we do.
You will see the most amount of diversity at a pre-release.
That is true.
Because these are the bigger tournaments for your local area. And support your local shops. Go to these pre-releases. You might make a new friend. Find a new play group. You might just have a lot of fun. Or you might just get some awesome fucking cards.
That's true.
Coming up, Dom pre-release, I really suggest that people go out there, search YouTube, go to Sim Draft, check out what to expect in these 6 Dom packs, and what colors do what. Like, you will notice that there's a very small amount of cheap removal in the set. White probably has the best cheap removal in the set. So, don't go straight looking for black for your cheap removal. It's actually going to be in white with Seal Away and Gideon's Repost, which does 4 damage to an attacking or blocking character for 2 mana. It's super strong and limited. Super strong and constructed, too, actually. But if you are planning to go to a Magic for release, do a little research. It will save you time when building your deck, and you may just stretch out an extra win. which could mean more packs for you. Now, I've already pre-ordered into 4 pre-releases this weekend.
Jesus.
Odds are our recording next week may be a little delayed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that's going to be my fault. But yeah, definitely do some research, and it will improve your experience by at least twofold. If you know what's going on and you don't have to feel rushed.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's all I got on Magic. I'll let you jump to your games.
Well, first off, I do have one thing that I wanted to talk about with Magic. We did have a pretty interesting 4-player commander match with a rando, actually. And it was pretty fun. It was me, Andy, Dakota, and this rando, because RJ had to leave. And I was playing my Atraxa deck, and it's Atraxa jank. It's nothing stupid. I didn't have enough infect to make it primarily infect. I didn't have enough +1/+1 counter synergy to make it +1/+1 counter, and I didn't have enough planeswalkers to make it super friends. So what did I do? I shoved it all in there, and it worked. It worked. I mean, I won, I think, 2 of the 3 games. I think I lost 1 of them. But it came down to politics is why I won those 2 games. And the other guy that sat down, he was playing mono blue. That was the first red flag. Actually, the first red flag was the fact that he was spectating the entire game that we had with RJ, and he was kind of rules lawyering us. Like, it wasn't real bad, but it was more like we weren't talking to him. We were discussing things with each other, and then he would jump in and say stuff. Like, no, that's not right because of this. And it's like, that's great. I appreciate it. We still would have reached that conclusion, but it was fine. Like, he seemed like an okay guy. So he sits down, he's playing some blue dude. I can't remember the guy's name. It's one of the commies. He's 2 blue for a 1/3. And at the beginning of each player's upkeep, they draw an extra card. He's Howling Mine on a legendary. So second red flag was he's mono blue. I'm like, oh god, here it comes. And I do have a sense of anxiety and just kind of issues whenever I play with a rando, because I've played with so many randos back in the day with Commander that somebody's like, hey, can I jump in? And they're friendly, and they drop down and yeah, awesome, cool. And they're like, cool, I have a turn 3 win right now because I have a $9,000 deck. And I hate that. I hate having that anxiety, but it sucks when you see money cards start getting thrown out and you're like, oh, fuck. Well, so it goes around, we do our stuff. His second turn hits, he plays his commander. We're like, okay, cool. We're all drawing extra cards. Third turn, he plays a sword out. Sword of Body and Mind. Now, that's one of the lower swords, but it does say he has protection from Dakota, because Dakota's playing mono green. And blue, so part of my deck and half of Andy's deck. So it's now a threat. So rolls back to me. I'm doing stuff. I get Atraxa out. He immediately targets me for the entire rest of the game. And I hate that because, and I was talking to RJ about this the other day, of playing against the player, not the deck. So if I'm playing against you, you are playing my Atraxa deck. I am playing against you, Crimson, as a player. I am not playing against Atraxa, the deck. The reason why is because, one, I know you. I know how you play. Yep. You're going to hold back. You're going to play a more control-oriented thing. You're going to play slower. You're going to try to keep a target off your back. Yes, you're going to try to get, Vidalcan or some sort of flash thing out so that you can draw go, just sit there and plink with Atraxa and just not do anything else. And that's smart. That is how you would play that. So I would play against that strategy. But a stranger is going to drop down and play against the deck. He sees an Atraxa. He goes, Atraxa is the most threatening thing in this game. I need to deal with that. Now, when we got like 8 turns deep and he realizes that I'm not outright murdering him, one would normally back off a little bit. But it ended up that Dakota had an entire board of 6/6 elves. Andy was gaining steam finally and was getting tons of zombies. I had Atraxa, Elspeth, Tameo, and 2 1/1s. And he locked my board down, locked it down, kept locking it down, kept it locked, and was trying to get Andy to swing in and kill all my planeswalkers, which would have set me to nothing, and I would have died. Eventually, I kept getting irritated by this guy, and he wasn't doing anything wrong. He wasn't being a dick, and he would help me with some stuff. Like, he would play some stuff to help me. He would play some stuff to help those guys, and then he'd fuck us all over. And I'm like, all right, I get it. That's a sound strategy. But since he kept singling me out for lock stuff, I'm like, nah, I'm done with this. So Andy wanted to do one thing. The only thing he actually wanted was to actually kill somebody, like eliminate a player. He had lethal on this guy, even though Dakota was the threat. And he goes, and he's said this for like 3 turns. He's like, I think I can just outright kill that guy. He's like, but I don't know if I should. And of course, he is saying that I'm the threat. I am saying that Dakota's the threat. Because, you know me, I have proper threat assessment. And even Dakota's like, I'm the threat. I can one-shot all 3 of you if it gets to my turn. So I make a deal with Andy. I go, I tell you what, if you kill him, which would unlock my board, I will board wipe Dakota's board, and then you can swing in and take him down. And he's like, okay. Swings in, drops the other guy to 1. He was 1 damage off. The guy scoops. And it felt kind of crappy, because 1, it denied Andy his elimination that he was after. It felt like a rage quit, and he was still in the game because we basically pushed him all the way back. We took out the thing that was going to be locking my board down, so it freed me up. It put him in his place. I wasn't going to kill him. I didn't have to, because I could kill him at any time at that point.
Yeah.
And so he ends up scooping. He's like, and he even said, he's like, that's part of the game. He's like, I'm fine with it. But just how he just scooped and left kind of sucked. So it's down to the 3 of us. I end up top decking a supreme, or not supreme verdict. The black-white one. Can't remember what it's called. Anyways, it's you choose 1, exile all creatures, artifacts, enchantments, or whatever, planeswalkers or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go, oh, well, all I have is Atraxa and 2 tokens. You have a board of zombies that won't get hit by Elspeth. He has an entire board of elves that will get hit by Elspeth. I'll play that. I'll just board wipe everybody. And so reset the board. I had my 2 planeswalkers, ticked them up, played Atraxa back out, proliferated, and then I gained free control of the board. Had I not drawn that board wipe, I would have had to have board wiped with Elspeth, and we would have kept going. But it was so cool seeing Dakota so excited about the game, seeing Andy getting into the game, and being so excited. But you do have those instances where when you play with people outside your playgroup, it's a mixed bag.
Yes.
Like, we did not have a bad experience with this guy. He was a little short with people. He was a little dickish at times, but I don't think that was him being an asshole. I think that was just kind of how he talked and how he acted. So we cut him the slack, and we had fun with him. And so that's really nice. And I'm trying to pull myself out of my comfort zone, which is I don't like playing with random people because I've had so many bad experiences with them. But now I'm trying to kind of pull out of that. But we had some really good Commander games like that. But the great thing is that game did not end there. It did not end with me board wiping and getting Atraxa back out. It went on for 7 or 8 more rounds.
Wow.
It was like 2.5 hour game, and there was not 1 second where we were not at the edge of our seat with clenched fists. because it was like, oh my god, can you kill me? I think you can kill me. And it's like, oh my god, you're 1 point away. Now it's my turn. I'm back up in some health. I wipe your board. I go over here, and then Dakota's like, "Oh yeah, well I just refilled my board. 6/6s, smash your face," and it just kept going around, and it was a blast. But I can't believe I'm saying this, but I look forward to playing Magic every weekend now.
Oh, same here, man.
It's a great time to be in the game. With that, I have been playing some other stuff. One that I really want to talk about is Grifters.
Yes, I want to hear about this.
This is a game that I had never heard of. My parents actually found it at Barnes & Noble. They were looking for something for me for my birthday. And they're like, well, let's just get him a couple of small games. So they saw Grifters. I'm like, my mom has impeccable intuition when it comes to picking out board games. She goes, that one looks cool. Let's look at that. So my dad looks up the ratings. It gets like an 8.5 out of 10. I'm like, all right, let's get that. So I open it. I see that it looks kind of like Resistance, like their art style, their world style. Mm-hmm. And then I realize that it's by the same people, and it does take place in the same world. So, and that is, Resistance. It is Coup. That genre.
And Coup.
They're great games. Now, this one is definitely different. It is a hand collection game. It is, and the best way for me to describe it is Ticket to Ride meets Coup. And I will briefly explain how the game works. You each get 3 ringleaders, 1 blue, 1 green, 1 red. They're the same. It's pickpocket, thief, and mastermind. Okay. And so they are the attributes, brawn, speed, and smarts, or brain, or whatever. And you have these missions that are on the field. They go from 1 to 4, and they're each targets. So it's like, Wayland cloning facility is one of them. And it's jobs 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you can discard those cards from your hand that are the colors matching the requirements. So you get those 3 ringleaders, everybody gets the same one. And then everybody gets 3 random cards. And each of those cards have an ability like in Coup. So I can play 1 card from my hand, one of the characters, and trigger their ability. And you have a mat that has knights 1, 2, and 3 on it, and a refresh zone. So I play the Con Man into Knight 1. Well, it's a green card. That doesn't matter for this. But they're running a caper. When you play 1 card, you're running a caper. Mm-hmm. And you trigger its ability. So his ability is you take $1 from the bank and $1 from an opponent. You choose. Everybody starts with $3. And those only count as points. You don't use them as a currency.
Okay.
So I can do that. Or one of these jobs says that it requires 2 green guys, or 2 green characters, and a blue character. So I instead of me playing the Con Man, I'll use him with 2 other cards, 1 other green and a blue card, to complete that job. So I don't get to trigger their abilities, but I get to take the job, complete it, and I get a reward. And that reward is, like, draw 2 more cards from the specialist deck. So I get 2 more characters in my hand. Well, then on my next turn, the team I just played in Night 1 moves to Night 2. Then I get to play cards into Night 1. Well, then on my next turn, the cards in Night 2 move to 3, Night 1 move into 2, I play another card. Eventually, those get pushed into a thing called the refresh zone. At the end of your turn, you return all cards in the refresh zone to your hand. So it's less deck building and more hand management. So I get to play these 4 green cards down and complete this job. But those 4 green cards will not come back to my hand 3 more turns. So I need to decide which job I want to get. I need to decide how I want to manage my cards. Do I want to play this 1 card that'll get me another character so that it sets me up for another turn? And it's amazing. It's like in Ticket to Ride if the cards that you had also had abilities on them.
Okay.
But there is a wild card that says he counts as all 3 colors. So it just like the wild card in Ticket to Ride. However, if you play him for his ability, you get to swap him for any character that is not a ringleader from one of your opponent's hideouts. So if they have a team of dudes and you're like, oh, I really need a wheelman because wheelman is busted. I really need a wheelman. Well, I'll play inside man and swap him with your wheelman, and now I get to use the wheelman immediately. And wheelman says, choose one of your teams in your hideout, so knight 1, 2, or 3, and return all but one of those cards to your hand.
Ooh.
So the job's already completed. So you're just waiting for that timer to tick through to the refresh phase to get them back to hand. Well, what the wheelman says is that you leave one guy behind and bounce all those back to hand. It's amazing. There's another one, Femme Fatale, which is another fantastic one. She's a green card. It says when you play her by herself, you get to advance time and play another guy. So you've got all your knights filled and do stuff in your refresh. You play her, you push the stuff in knight 3 also into your refresh, and then you push the knight 2 to 3, and then her to 2. And then you get to play another card. Well, there's one called Protege, which is a blue card, and it says, when you play him, you can choose another character in your hideout that is by themselves and trigger their ability again. So then you can trigger the Femme Fatale again. Push knight 3 into refresh again, move her, move him, and play another card. And it's that kind of comboing that the entire game is based around. It's getting new cards, trading those cards out, and managing your teams so that you still have abilities to play when you're not running jobs.
I like that.
It is one of the best games I have ever played in my life. We are obsessed with it. And it's fun. It's about a 30-minute game at most. It's easy to learn, easy to teach, and it runs so smoothly. It is amazing. Also, the artwork is fantastic. The other game that I've played is the sequel to one that we have actually played in person, and that was Welcome to the Dungeon. We have played Welcome Back to the Dungeon, which is actually really fun. If you have not played it but have played the first one, you don't necessarily need the second one. Not a lot has changed. The only difference is the 4 classes are different, so they all have different items, and the deck has different creatures in it. But it's literally the same thing. The only difference, real big difference, is that there are special enemies now that have very drastic effects, like the gelatinous cube, or whatever it is, which is the D&D monster. And basically what it does is that if you, whenever you encounter it in the dungeon, you have to, or his strength is equal to the number of, no, that's the mimic. I'm sorry. I've only played a couple rounds of it. No, the gelatinous is that you don't have to fight him, but you have to give him a equipment. And if you give him a health equipment, he does that much damage to you. So he's kind of a dick. There's a shapeshifter, which is his strength is based off of the position in the deck that he is. So if you flip him at number, he is a 4 strength vampire. If you flip him at number 9, he is a 9 strength shapeshifter. So he can be really easy to deal with or an absolute nightmare. And just kind of stuff like that. One of them actually punishes winning. One is a 4 strength vampire, but if you have a victory card, so if you have successfully ran a dungeon, he is an 8 strength with no type. So the things that kill vampires, the things that kill, monsters, whatever, will not hurt him now. So he is just an 8 strength to beat your face. So that's kind of cool. They added some balance stuff like that, where the guy that actually hits you if you're winning and stuff like that. It's very fun. I think we should definitely play it on tabletop and the YouTube channel.
I mean, it sounds super interesting.
Yeah, it's just more of the same, but there are some cool changes that they've done, like the special enemy. One video game that I have played, and I didn't get to play a ton of it, I think I got it in the Humble Monthly. It's called Subterrain. And it's interesting, and I think you would actually like it. It is a top-down survival shooter horror. Now, all of that combined sounds like it would be a mess. And I'm not saying it's not a mess. I don't know. Like I said, I only for about 30 minutes or an hour. It's cool, though. It's very cool. The atmosphere is very much like Alien or Aliens, like those movies, the way that that atmosphere is, where you are alone, everybody's dead, and you are wandering around trying to survive. It is top-down, which is interesting for a survival game and a horror game, but it is that kind of twin-stick shooter, and it works really well because it has RPG aspects. You have to eat, you have to drink, you have to take a shit. You actually do. Like, your character will have a sphere pops up over their head that says, I really need to take a dump. And you have to find a fucking shitter and go. And so it's really cool. The combat is a little wonky at first, but it works. Like, once you get used to it being a twin stick shooter, you know, your mouse aims and you just start punching or shooting or swinging your stick around, it ends up working. But you get to investigate stuff, you get to drag stuff around. So one of the first things that you do is you're trying to find a vent to get out of your cell. And so you have to actually grab the table, drag it off the vent, and then open the vent and go in the vent. So there's some puzzles, there's RPG elements, it's a twin stick shooter, it is survival, it is horror. It's kind of all of the best parts of those things so far put together with little to none of the bad stuff so far. It's cheap. I would highly recommend taking a look at it, especially since you like survival games. But it's just kind of one of those games where you can sit down a little bit and you're like, yeah, this is fun. It doesn't take a ton of brain power of planning stuff. You are just exploring this facility and trying to survive. And the way it's presented from a top-down view with the dialogue, it does have voiceover. It's definitely one to look at.
I'm interested.
Yeah. And I figured that you would, because you like survival games. I know that you're more of a person survival game, but I don't know. I think I think it's going to shape up to be very interesting. And I'll try to play some more this week and give kind of an updated review of what I found, because again, I haven't got to play.
Yeah. Now the game I love is that Welcome to the Dungeon. Man, I love that game.
Yeah. And I think you will really, really like Welcome Back to the Dungeon. It is, like I said, it's just more of the same with some extras. It's got special enemies, it's got new ability characters, and that's basically it. Like, I don't know how it will work. I don't know if it can cross-platform, though. Like, I don't know if you can play with the new characters in the old ones or vice versa. I think so. I don't think that there's any of the characters have things that mess with specific characters. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, yes. Like, I don't think that any of them say, like, this monster is defeated by this. There are, but I think those same ones can be defeated by other people's abilities. Like, it doesn't say this item destroys all of you know, or the demon of Khazad-dûm. You know, it's like, this will destroy all creatures that are strength power 2 or less.
Yeah.
And so it's more of that. So I'll have to mess around with that and see if you can play with the old characters.
I have both of them on tabletop.
Sweet.
I have tried out the Welcome Back, and it is a far superior game on tabletop because it has full scripting.
Oh, so what?
It resets everything. You just click on the hero you want. It automatically puts all the cards on the board for you, puts the, you know, creates the decks for you, everything. It's badass.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Okay. All the listeners, anyone who's still listening,
After an hour and 5 minutes.
After an hour and 5 minutes of us going
Ranting.
off about diversity and playgroups and fucking sexual predators.
Welcome to Mediocre Gamers.
Where I don't even know where to go with that. We can't
if
even.
you don't
put
like
a tagline.
rambling, this is the wrong podcast for you.
Yeah. If you don't like rambling, you should probably tell RJ to come back and keep us in line. But one other thing that we were wanting to talk about, and it kind of goes back to Magic, is that we had a new Planeswalker ruling. I don't like it.
I love it.
You love it for a different reason, though. You love it for the correct reason. I hate it for also the correct reason, but also one that I did not write in the show notes. So basically, it says that Planeswalkers are now legendary. They are not based off of their subtype, which means that you can have Jace the Mind Sculptor, Jace Vryn's Prodigy, and Jace Memory Adept out. Or
you mean
whatever.
You could have a
Teferi and Teferi.
A time mage called Teferi. You could have his younger version and his older version in play because
you can have all three of his versions.
Time mage who has split the worlds and split time.
But here's my only problem with the idea of that, and I think that you'll end up agreeing that if Teferi goes back in time, is he still creating other copies of himself? Because if there's other copies of himself, then it makes sense. Like, same with Jace. Like, if Jace is venturing to different realities, I could understand there being more than one Jace.
But what is plane shifting?
That would be going to a different universe, I would assume.
Which is a different reality.
To an extent. But it doesn't mirror our reality. Like, if you go to a different universe, if you go to a different galaxy, if you go to a different planet, you're not going to find you there. Now, if he is literally shattering the timeline, if he is going through different dimensions, if he is going through mirrored realities, I could see that. But then, at that point, what the fuck is Jace doing in that other reality? What is Teferi doing in that other reality? Sitting on his ass and not all...
Yeah.
You know, it's like...
Can't really fuck with time. You bring up the old Star Trek issues.
You bring the nerds out. You bring us into this, and we start just destroying your argument for having multiple of the same Planeswalker out. And the main reason why I do not like this is I have two reasons. And they're very simple reasons. One, that was one of the balancing mechanics to Planeswalkers, that if I had Liliana of the Veil out, I also could not have Liliana out, which would be busted.
But now I can't. Busted, so you better pick up a $170 Liliana.
Oh god, and that all that did was simply make the prices go up. Whether it was $1, whether it was $150,
but it also made some Planeswalkers more playable, because why would you ever play any of those other Jace if you have a Jace the Mind Sculptor? You just wouldn't.
Well, and here's the thing, is like, if I'm building a deck, and it depends on the deck that I'm building. I primarily play Commander, so I can only have one copy of a card and a 99 deck. So if I'm primarily playing a blue deck, or blue-black, blue-green, 1 to 2 color decks, I would probably run more than one Jace. Because if I draw into Jace the Mind Sculptor, great. I don't have to play this other Jace. But they're going to destroy that Mind Sculptor eventually. He is a threat. So when they destroy him, I have a new Jace to play.
Here's a better thing to think about. Why would you ever buy a Planeswalker deck? Because those Planeswalkers suck.
But those Planeswalkers are still not playable in any format. That's the problem with them, is that if I have...
The Teferi is.
The Teferi is, the Chandra is, of the... But
they're
I
starting
think
to get better.
Yeah, they're starting to make more sense, and they're starting to
the Vraska is. The Vraska's great.
Vraska's not too bad. The problem is that the other Vraskas are better. and there's 2 of them.
Right, but if you're
So
playing Brawl, you can only run one.
that's
This,
true.
I think
Well,
this change was meant because of Brawl.
well, here's the thing though. In Brawl, it's a little different, and same within Commander. If I have Teferi as my commander, or Vraska as my commander in Brawl, I can still run the other Vraskas because they are a different name for deck building purpose. But
Yeah.
I can't have Vraska, the pirate Vraska, out as my commander and also play the other Vraska.
Right. No, I'm not saying it's a good change or even a bad change.
Yeah.
I
don't know if
very much welcome it because I do want to play the new Teferis, both of them. They're both really good and they work really good. Oh my god, dude. Oh my goodness. Think about this. Teferi's Oath. So now I get 2 abilities on each of my planeswalkers.
Yes.
I have a Gilded Lotus in play. I tap it for 3 mana. I use Teferi from the Planeswalker deck to untap my Gilded Lotus. And now I tap my Gilded Lotus. I use Teferi to untap it. I tap my Gilded Lotus. That's 9 mana. And I still can use my other Teferi.
And now you see why I don't like this change. Because it was a balancing issue. You looked at both of the Teferis, and you actually did this when we first saw the spoilers for this. You go, oh god, which one do I run? And that's a legitimate question. You go, which strategy do I want to do? And in this, it's like, you don't have to have a strategy. You just shove everything in there. But this is the other reason why I do not like this change. And it is not because of the actual change itself. It's because of what did not come with it. And that is this. And I will actually read this part. Okay. They will also be subject to the legend rule. The Planeswalker uniqueness rule is going away. What does this mean? In short, everything that's true about legendary permanents will now be true about legendary Planeswalkers. Also note that this does not mean legendary Planeswalkers can be your commander unless an ability says so. This was the perfect time for them to say Planeswalkers are now available to be used as commanders in regular Commander. It makes no sense for them to split the Commander format. Oh, in Brawl, I can use any Planeswalker I want. But in Commander, where I have access to every fucking card ever made, I can only run these 5 Planeswalkers as my commander.
You know why, right?
Probably balancing issues.
Nope. It's strictly because to make any rules to Commander, which is not regulated by Wizards of the Coast, but by the EDH Council. So Wizards can't make those rules. The EDH Council has to. Now, I'm sure...
What about Brawl? Is Brawl under Wizards?
Brawl is made up by Wizards and is a Wizards-sanctioned format. EDH
All right,
is
Wizards,
not.
clean up your shit. If you have a format that is actually, promoted by you guys make the commander decks, then you need to be overseeing it. Or the EDH Council needs to also be overseeing Brawl. Don't have 2 formats being regulated by 2 different fucking companies.
Well, I think this is pushing the EDH Council to add Planeswalkers as commanders.
Yeah, and I hope that they do, because that will also revive a lot of people to come play Commander again, and it would be more consistent with the Brawl format. And that's really all I want. If they were going to for a which Brawl is a Commander format, then it should be in the other Commander format.
Yeah.
That's just consistency, and that was one of the things that really pissed me off about this change. I think that there is going to be balancing issues with the legend rule over the unique Planeswalker rule. Whatever. It's the fact that they go, hey, we're changing how Planeswalkers function, but also fuck you.
Well, they also made it so that way anything that targets a player can now target a Planeswalker.
But that has been a rule in it for a very long time.
Yeah, but now if the player has Shroud or Hexproof, you couldn't target their Planeswalker back then because you still had to target the player and then redirect it to the Planeswalker.
What?
Yeah, so how it worked was when you say
When you target a
lightning bolt,
player, you may choose to have
right?
it.
You never target the planeswalker. You target the player and say, I'm going to cast lightning bolt. I'm going to resolve the damage onto your planeswalker. But if the person has shroud,
That's so
you
dumb.
couldn't redirect it to the planeswalker. That's why they cleared up a lot of those. I mean, they changed 700 cards to just in the Oracle.
Yeah, and I was very happy to see in Domination things are now saying to any target.
Yep.
But, might have some social justice warriors out there saying, why does it say creature?
Creature, player, or planeswalker.
Yep.
Fuck that.
You put they and them. Anyway. Yeah, that's really all I got.
That's all I got, too.
All right. Well, as always, thank you all for listening and continuing to listen and sticking with us through our rants. And you can always check out our previous episodes at mediocregamers.com, as well as on iTunes and Play. And you can keep up to date with us on Facebook and Twitter at 2mediocregamers. And you can chat with us on Discord. Links, as always, will be posted in the description down below. Now get out there and play some games.